Hi there, my name's Kris and welcome to my studio. In this video, I'm going to show you how I set up my work area in my studio for painting in watercolor. Let's get started. One of the reasons I'm doing this video is because when I first started in watercolor, I simply didn't know how to set up my painting area. I didn't know what materials I needed, and I didn't know the best way to arrange my materials as I was painting. So I'm going to go through all of that in this video. This is part of my Getting Started in Watercolor series, really trying to address the questions of the beginning watercolor artist. I'm going to start here and kind of go in a clockwise fashion and just talk about everything that I have set out here. First of all, I have my easel, I have my board, and I have my watercolor paper taped onto that. I am simply using a painter's tape that you can get at any hardware store. I have found that to be really the most cost-effective and best way to adhere my paper to the board. Placed right here behind my palette is my tablet with my reference image. I like to display it on a tablet in a digital form. I see all the colors that way, and it's just a great way to refer to my reference image. I always have a little bit of paper towel available here, and I like to have that to dry out my brushes. I also have here in my studio all the colors of my current watercolor palette swatched out on a piece of watercolor paper. I like to have that handy for easy reference, just again to know what colors I have to choose from. Central here to my painting area, of course, is my palette. This is the Stephen Quiller porcelain palette. It has spaces for 32 colors, and they are situated with yellow at the top in a circular color wheel fashion. My cool colors on the right, my warm colors on the left. Directly to the right of my palette is my water container. I like this Magello water container with 3 separate containers in it. That way I can have some dirty water in one and clean water in another. And it's nice and big and holds tons of water. It also has this handy brush holder right here in the front. Now directly in front of the water container is a small Tupperware with a sponge. This is a regular household sponge, and I almost always remove water off my brush after putting the brush in the water here, just so I don't get too much water on my brush when I go to my paper. I also like to have right here a towel of some kind, and I often will get off excess water off my brush here on the towel as well. The towel also is a nice place to just set my brushes when I'm not using them. It's important to know you never leave your brushes in the water while you're painting. It can damage the brushes. Since we're on the topic of water, I also have a small spritzer bottle that I keep full of water, and I occasionally use that to re-wet my paper or to spritz water into certain parts of my painting. My entire setup here, of course, is for me as a right-handed person, so everything that I'm using to paint with is to the right of my painting surface, my paper here. Because I'm right-handed, I imagine if you're left-handed, you would kind of reverse the setup entirely so everything was on the left-hand side. But you obviously don't want to be going from your palette to your water and be crossing over the paper. Like having water and palette on opposite sides of the paper would not be a good setup, just because you're going to potentially drip water on your painting surface, and there's a lot of wasted motion. So you want to have the water and the palette close to each other on your dominant hand side. And then one more thing I like to do is have a piece of watercolor paper here right in front of the palette where I could test a color. If I'm not quite sure I've got the value or the hue that I want in the painting, I can, as I'm mixing things up, I can come and test that paint right here on this paper, which I situate again right in front of the palette. Another handy thing to have in your watercolor studio is an old hairdryer like this that you can use if necessary to quickly dry your painting. Usually I let my paintings dry naturally without the hairdryer, but sometimes this comes in handy. So there you go, that's how I set up my painting space in my watercolor studio. I hope you found this helpful. If so, check out my channel. I have other videos especially designed for people getting started in watercolor. If you like what you see, consider subscribing. I put out a new video about once a week. Have a great day, keep on painting, and I'll see you next time.